Money isn't real power. Control is. And for over a century, a tiny group of men has controlled the entire financial system, while the rest of the world never realized what really happened. Nations rise, nations fall, but the same hidden network stays where it was. The banks you trust, the currencies you use, the interest rates that decide your future, they don't move by accident. They move when the cartel says them to move. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a business model, a global one. And today, we're going to uncover how a small circle of banks quietly became the most powerful cartel on Earth. Let's begin. Money didn't always work the way it does now. There was a time when banks were local, separated, competing, fragile, small. But the elites of the early 1900s, they saw an opportunity. Back then, America's financial system was chaos. Bank runs, collapses, panicked crowds. Every crisis proved the same thing. Whoever could stabilize money would control the country. So in 1910, something strange happened. A group of the richest bankers in the world boarded a private train, traveling under fake names, to an island on the coast of Georgia, Jekyll Island. No press, no recordings, no official minutes, just 7 men, representing over 25% of the world's wealth at the time, secretly drafting the blueprint for the modern financial system. That blueprint became the Federal Reserve, a central bank that was sold to the public as a solution, but quietly designed to transfer financial power from elected governments to private banking interests. It worked perfectly, because once you control the money supply, you control everything built on top of it. The cartel wasn't formed through violence, it was formed through influence, laws, and control. Once the Federal Reserve was created, a small group of banks gained the power to create money, lend to governments, and steer entire economies, while hiding behind an institution everyone was told to trust. This was only the beginning. The cartel realized something. Controlling America wasn't enough. If they wanted real power, they needed global reach. World War I became the perfect opportunity. Nations needed money, a lot of money, and they borrowed it from the same handful of banks. By the end of the war, entire countries, Britain, France, Italy, were drowning in debt owed to private banking families. Then came the Great Depression. Millions lost their savings, their homes, their futures. But big banks, they consolidated. They swallowed their competitors. And they walked out more powerful than ever. This created the next phase of the cartel: international banking networks. J.P. Morgan, Rothschild, Warburg, Rockefeller, Schroeder, Lazard. These names weren't just companies, they were dynasties, families whose influence spread across continents through ownership, board seats, and government ties. Their next move was simple: take control of global institutions. The IMF, the World Bank, the BIS, the Central Bank of Central Banks. These weren't random organizations, they were the cartel's infrastructure, a global financial operating system where only one group had admin access. With these tools, they could decide which nations received loans, which nations collapsed, and which currencies lived or died. And because this power was built on debt, it grew automatically. The more the world borrowed, the stronger the cartel became. By the 1970s, the final lock clicked in place. Nixon ended the gold standard. Money was no longer backed by anything, it became debt, pure debt. And debt is the cartel's favorite weapon. Because when money is created through debt, someone must pay interest. That someone is every working person on Earth. The cartel didn't just control banks, they controlled governments, they controlled currencies, they controlled the global economy. If you're imagining a smoky room full of bankers plotting world domination, forget it. This cartel doesn't operate like that. It doesn't need to. Its power is built into the system itself. Here are the 3 tools that changed everything. 1. Interest rates. When interest rates go up, the economy slows down. When they go down, the economy explodes. Who sets those rates? Central banks. Who influences central banks? The same institutions and individuals who benefit from the outcome. Raise rates. Small businesses die. People lose homes. Governments struggle. Lower rates. Inflation spikes. Assets bubble. Debt becomes inescapable. Either way, the banks win. 2. Debt. Every loan creates new money. But the interest you owe? That money doesn't exist yet. So someone else must borrow to cover your interest. This creates a perpetual cycle where the world must stay in debt just to keep the system running. And who collects the interest? You already know. 3. Crises. Every crisis hurts the public, but every crisis strengthens the cartel. 2008 is the perfect example. Banks gambled with toxic assets. The system crashed. Millions lost everything. And yet, the banks were bailed out. Not punished, not dismantled. Protected. The world learned a painful truth. The banking cartel is too big to fail because the global economy is built on top of it. Today, the cartel doesn't need secrecy. It hides in plain sight. The power isn't held by 7 men on an island anymore. Now it's held by financial giants. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. These 3 firms collectively control over 80% of the U.S. stock market through passive index funds. They are the largest shareholders in Apple, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Tesla, Walmart, J.P. Morgan, Pfizer, Coca-Cola, and thousands more. They don't need to dictate decisions. They influence them through ownership. And at the government level, commercial banks still borrow from central banks still operate under the BIS, and nations still rely on debt to function. It's a hierarchy, a pyramid, a system built on one idea. Money flows upward, control flows upward, power flows upward. And the average person is stuck at the bottom of a ladder they never agreed to climb. How did the banking cartel take over the world? By building a system where every crisis strengthens them, every loan enriches them, every government depends on them, and every person works for them without realizing it. They didn't seize power. They engineered it. Quietly. Legally. Systematically. The world believes nations run the economy. But nations borrow money. Banks create it. The real rulers are the ones who decide how money is born. That's the cartel. And unless the system changes, they will control the future more than they ever controlled the past.